Good morning, my lovely FreeMelons. Today I felt like just speaking to you freely, so here we are. So newest updates, if you haven't seen it, go and check out the new Shazam movie. It just came out a couple of days ago. And I've been getting messages on YouTube and also on my Facebook of people that are recognizing me in the film. Yes, that is me. I did have a very small part to play in one of the scenes in the movie. So if you're curious and you want to see your favorite FreeMelon in action on the big screen, then I encourage you to go and check out Shazam. I worked on it for about 6 months. I was on the action team, on the action development team for the movie. Oh, also a YouTuber, Ivan Peku. I think that's how you pronounce your last name, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, his YouTube channel is called Motivate Through Example, and a really great channel. He's got a lot of good stuff. I worked with him and I met him there as well. In the movie, I make an appearance during a bus sequence where a bus, so I don't want to spoil the movie, but something happens to the bus and it ends up crashing and going over a bridge. So anyway, I'm one of the bus passengers, and so a couple of people recognized me and reached out. So anyway, yeah, it might be a fun thing. If you want a movie day, check out Shazam and you'll be able to see me. I was part of the stunt team that worked on the film, so we were pretty busy for 5 months or so working on the action, developing a lot of the sequences that you see in the film, doing a lot of wire work, testing the flying rigs, lots of fun stuff. The same action team that developed all the action sequences for Aquaman, an Australian crew, fantastic group of people. So check it out if you got the interest, and I'll see you in the film. Aside from that, on a more serious note, there's something I wanted to just mention quickly. I want to talk about books, about reading. We are getting to a point in our civilization where the tyranny that we are under is growing exponentially every single day. It seems to be that freedom of speech is now something that is taboo. You are not allowed to speak about anything that matters, regardless of how true, regardless of the veracity of the topic on which you're speaking is. You will get slandered, you will get removed from certain social communities, online or wherever. And there's this gradual stifling of our freedom of speech and of our access to knowledge. Restricting access to knowledge, that goes back, I mean, this, you can trace this back to the 4th century and even beyond, okay? Particularly with the rise of the Roman Catholic institution, for example, book burnings were a common thing, right? Any book that had anything to do with natural law, natural science, truth in any of its capacities, all of these works were sequestered, isolated, burned, kept from the public eye. Anything that disagreed with the Roman Catholic canon was seen as a heresy. People were jailed, people were killed, flayed, tortured. The heights of iniquity, like the absolute pinnacle of iniquity, right? This continued for years and years and years, which is why a lot of the knowledge societies had to go underground, you know, and hide from the ever watchful eye of Sauron that was the mainstream communities at that time. This continued all throughout the Dark Ages, and then with the Enlightenment, we saw a type of rejuvenation of alchemical and esoteric knowledge. But it came at a price. We divorced ourselves from the intuitional aspects of intelligence and started to embrace materialism and Newtonian reductionism and all sorts of stuff. This is supposed to be a Freelog. I don't want to just blab on forever because this topic, you know, volumes can be written about this topic. What my point is that technocratic globalist institutions and companies like Google and Amazon and whatnot, they are slowly starting to restrict and prevent your access to knowledge that would otherwise be very, very, very enlightening. So over time, you're going to see books, physical books, being less and less and less available. And only what is permitted for you to see is going to be what's available to buy. Here's the point I'm getting at. In the 21st century, it is not enough just to rely on lectures, videos and online content alone, like articles and whatnot. This is not enough. You need to be reading books, okay? Reading books. This is crucial. I can't stress this enough. This is crucial. I cannot remember a single day for the past 12 years or so where I didn't plug away and study at a book at least once a day. This process does not stop for me. I give you my lectures and I give you my videos and whatnot. If you think for a moment that I have at any point stopped my reading and research, if you think that I don't consider myself an absolute beginner in everything and I treat my learning as if I'm a beginner and I'm constantly plugging away as if I know nothing, right? You're wrong. I do this all the time and I always have. If you are one of those people who have learned a lot from great people, and the point of this is not to discourage you from watching good people who have good things to say on lectures, videos, documentaries. These are all instrumental in your process. But reading books is quintessential. It is so important in your development. And if you don't do this as much, the more you do it, your wisdom will take off. Now, as books become less and less available, I couldn't encourage you strongly enough, buy books and don't just go on lectures and articles that are on the internet, okay? You need to buy books if you have the means. If you have the means to do so, then do so, okay? A lot of the income I make just goes towards buying more books, right? They're going to become invaluable. So some of the books that I've bought, the price that I had to pay for them, you would not believe what I had to pay for some of my books. But I put a very, very high value on knowledge and good knowledge. And, you know, I think it's important. In the Latin language, the word book, liber, and liberty, freedom, liberty, liber are the same. They mean the same thing. So it's interesting. The creators of the language equated reading and freedom in the same word. And that was not done for an arbitrary, random reason. No, there was a very good reason for that. And it's because the creators of the language understood very well that the road, the path to freedom comes from books, comes from reading, right? Reading and understanding and learning. So if you are not a reader and you have the means to acquire books, I strongly encourage you to do that, because you're going to find that good books are going to be harder and harder to come by in the next several years as this ridiculously evil system just crushes us underfoot. How does one read properly? I will tell you. When you buy a book, you require a pen or a highlighter if you want. I use both, to be honest. And you need to be able to be comfortable marking and writing up and taking notes all over your book. When you buy a book, your book is now your personalized item, okay? It is a study tool. The best way to retain knowledge when you read a book is to, as you go through it, what you do is you recap and you summarize everything that you just went over, and you try to encapsulate that in a couple of key sentences or key words or phrases. You write those notes in point form in your book, or you also highlight certain passages and whatnot. But a very important tool is, again, trying to put in very short point form notes the main ideas of the last several pages. That does two things. A, when you reproduce in your own words, it does something to the memory and it allows you to retain that information much more readily than if you were to have just read it. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is that when you go back to reference something in that book, all you'll see are point form notes everywhere in your book, so you can just refer to these little tiny bullets of point form notes and everything starts coming back without having to read and spend hours, going through text trying to remember. So my main takeaway here is, do not rely on documentaries and online resources alone. Buy books and make them your own. That way you can use them as study tools, right? You are in school when you are reading. This is not something that you do passively. Reading is not a passive thing. It is an active, mentally engaged process where you are remembering and making notes, and that is the best way to learn, okay? If you have time and if you have the means, okay? If you don't, then just do whatever you can. All right. I will be making a book list by request. I've had a number of people ask me, to go through important books that I think are worthwhile reading. So I will be doing that, and that will be coming up on a future lecture. So stay tuned. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening in with me on this Freelog session, and I will see you guys next time on the Secret Classroom here on the FreeMelon Society.